Welcome back. We're going to talk today about the role of the accountant in society. When we think about what role in society and different functions, when you think about all different professionals, all different service providers, tradespeople, we look towards how do we contribute to the greater good of our societies. When you think about what does an accountant do, their expertise and training, their analytical mind, and their experience is highly qualified to provide multiple needs to services of today's society. And you think about, when monetary transactions, valuations, readers of financial statements, there's an interested party looking at the performance of the business of any type, all the different businesses that we've discussed about sole proprietorships, partnerships, corporations, and what do they do, the measurement of their financial viability, are they contributing? Whether it's a small organization or a very, very large organization. So the accountants of today handle not only matters relating to general, what would be very internally related to regulatory entities. We talk about taxation for the governments, costing for our internal controls, our management decision-making tools, management accounting, the financial reporting, the legislation and procedures. They can also act in fields of financial policies, budgetary policies, and even economic principles. And when you think beyond the internal confines, this is when you can start looking at a more holistically, a more communal aspect of where does an accountant and where do the good works that we do, how does that contribute to our societies and our communities that we reside in. You think about what does a modern accountant do in society that is important. When you think about feasibility, when we talk about projects, we want to do different things, whether it's within the community. When you think about governments, they propose to do build a new bridge. They want to build a new community center. They want to do a new road system. You think about where is the expenditure going to come from? It's usually from tax revenues that the government collects. And we want to see, is that a feasible project? What are the long-term benefits of new construction or renovated construction versus existing? So we're going to do a feasibility report, and the accountants' data that they provide will give us a very strong cost perspective. We'll look at the cost of leaving maybe something the way it is versus the cost of reinvestment and the benefit of reinvestment, which potentially would be savings. So that's when we look at feasibility reporting. We also look at the proper state of accounts. We look at the true and fair value of the results of that business. Again, how are we performing? Are we earning money? Are we losing money? And why would you say that's a societal thing? Well, you think about it, when people want to start a business, they want to see maybe a coffee shop, or they want to start a bakery or a small retail outlet. They would like to understand if the information's available to them. Public corporations, yes, maybe a private one, not so much so. But is this entity viable? Is it profit-making? Is it sustainable? And so when you look at the fair results of a set of financial statements, that gives us an indication. Same thing like the bankers will do, like when they're investing or they're going to be lending money, they'll have a viewpoint of existing entities in that same space. Whether again, it's a retail, a manufacturer, a bakery, whatever, a service provider. They can use that measurement device, those financial statements they've reviewed for other organizations to see, is this a viable market? Is it a viable business? Does it have sustainable elements? Then we talk about management and enable them to discharge their duties more effectively. A management team that's able to execute policies, procedures, the business activities is effective. They can do several different things when effective. They can hire and retain staff members. They can grow their entities. By doing so, you're retaining staff members, you're growing your corporation, maybe expanding the footprint of your manufacturing facility. So you're providing sales, manufacturing jobs, or building construction jobs. You're onboarding more of the local population in that community on part of your payroll, and it's a circulation of dollars. So we're building, we're investing, we're growing our business, we're hiring people, we're spending in our community for construction costs, we're hiring people, they're spending money within the community. So there's a circulation of revenue generation by the corporation, salaries and expenditures for different investments, and that's getting decimated or shared within that community, generally speaking. We also look towards accountants to provide solid financial investment advice, and this could be used for investments, expansions, we just mentioned, mergers and acquisitions. So how is my entity going to spend its money? Whether it's, again, a sole proprietor or a large corporation. We've got profits, we've got earnings. How are we going to utilize that capital? Okay, from a societal point of view, you hope it's within that immediate community, general vicinity, and there's a benefit, there's an economic benefit, and it can be realized in several different ways. A local purchase, local hiring scheme, tax dollars generated. We earn a lot of money, we're going to pay corporate taxes. So that's got a communal element. So the success and this vibrancy, the growth of our businesses regardless of their structure, is providing tax dollars to that society to be used in the local community. We use it for different elements to assist in share registration. We talk about stock holding companies or stocks within an organization, arbitration when there's potentially some measure of dispute, memorandums of association, articles. These are corporate documents that are publicly filed. We talk about draft prospectus. When you talk about prospectus, issuance of shares, you are looking at the capital structure of an organization, the equity. What is my organization, my corporation, mostly in these instances, what's it worth? So you look at the share value. And that sales proposal to the general population or to an institutional investor is a prospectus. It's got a lot of legalese involved in it, but a core component are the financial results of that entity. It's a key thing for the accountants to have accuracy, transparency, and clarity in the financial reports that they're going to be sharing with the interested investor. And that's a big key core component of your prospectus. Tax consultants to handle taxes, we mentioned a wee bit earlier, and act as a management consultant to provide services regarding financial planning, monetary policies, and suggest possible alternatives, again, based upon the performance of that entity. I can think about this kind of a circle. You look at what do we do in areas of service. Core we mentioned earlier, or in other modules, the maintenance of the book of accounts. We are concerned in audit and taxation, management accounting, providing advice, management consultancy services. So when you look at these 5 key elements, key thing to look at is in the center, because no one of them really stands alone because there's an overlap. When you talk about where's the source of information, it's going to come from management of our book of accounts. Who's going to use that? Consultants. We're going to provide financial advice based upon that. We're going to look at management accounting, which is an offshoot, which is a more internalized element of financial reporting, and it's clearly using the book of accounts. Audit and taxation. The folks are going to come in and review our corporation to make sure that our financial reports are accurate. They reflect the performance of the entity. We're going to hear terms in this field, free from material misstatement from our auditors. They come in, they review our financial records, our balance sheet, our statements of equity, our cash flow statements. They provide notes. And they're basically, validating that these statements as presented are free from error, free from material misstatements, so that the reader of the financial statements has a clear picture and they can make an informed decision. We talk about the maintenance book of accounts. What are they used for? Assistance to management, act as a memory. When you think about act as a memory of a business entity, because generally speaking, when you think about accounting at its core, it's looking at historical information, capturing that, consolidating it over a period of time. It could be going back several years, several months, depending on the lifespan of our business entity, and it's going to capture it at a point in time and say, here's the financial performance of this organization at today's point in time. When you go into comparative studies, you're going to look at different elements. Now, when you talk about a more mature organization, it's maybe around several years, you're going to look for consistency in your reporting. So if you look at any 12-month cycle, you think about January 1st through December 31st. Generally speaking, a lot of the small organizations, a lot of corporates also, they're on what's called a calendar basis. January 1st, December 31st. So, if you want to compare 2020's performance to 2019 to 2018 to 2017, you're looking for consistency, but you're looking at the same periods of time. So if you want to compare first quarter, for example, of each one of those years, you look at March 31st, 2017, compared to March 31st, 2018, 2019, 2020, and so forth. So you're comparing like periods, whether it's a March 3-month statement, a 6-month, 9-month in September, or the whole year at December 31st. So it's comparability. And that is the memory being utilized for comparative study. We've captured all the information, we've captured it accurately, we've reported it accurately, it's potentially been audited and reviewed by a regulatory body or an outside person coming and say that it is clear, free from misstatement, and now we can compare that information. How did we perform in 2017 versus 2020? What's the improvement? And we can look at that year on year on year, and that's part of the analysis, again, for our informed readers. We're going to look at settlement of taxation liabilities potentially, and then in a forward view, what happens when we want to sell our business. These financial statements will be used for valuations and from an outside third party looking to invest, acquire our business. Or potentially when we're looking for outside investment also. As an investor, an interested party is going to want to understand, what is this organization worth? How has it performed over the years? So they can use that good information and see where's it going to go next. And then finally, we're going to look at a little bit of management consultancy services. Again, we're going to look at a nice circle here. And when you think about consultancy services, the key goal is here to really look at holistically at the business entity. So, that's why I have this diagram, drafted as a circle. So we're going to look at the MIS systems, management information systems. Now that's a future thing for us, but this is a computerized way of capturing all sorts of information, whether it be financial, whether it be performance and operational measures. We talked about human resource management. All the different elements of our entity are going to be in an MIS, or management information system, either offline or online. When we talk about online, we're thinking about our computers. Think about offline, it could be manual books of accounts, manual sales registers, and the like. Expenditure control and evaluation. How are we spending our money? How have we saved money? Are we looking at efficiencies? How are our procurement departments, how are they performing? Our vendors that we buy from, have their price structures changed substantially over the period of measurement? Are we seeing growth in our raw materials costs? And these are key accounting measures that we're going to be looking for. So look at our expenditures, they're huge, because an expenditure is a massive component, regardless of what the expenditure may be, whether it's a unit expenditure for manufacture of a product, or it's a human resource expenditure in the terms of taxation issues that may occur, insurance increases that may occur, social taxes which may occur. How is that impacting our profitability? What is the growth in that cost measure? Working capital management. You think about working capital, we're thinking about the cash resources available to the organization, whether it be for capital expenditure or operating costs, to run our businesses. And we need to keep a fine eye and a key focus on that on a recurring basis. And lastly, we talked about feasibility of new projects. Do our projects, can we afford to do them? What is the economic potential benefit to our organization and the community about us if we invest in these new projects? Projects are a reflection of ideas, business concepts, great ideas, and endeavors that we need to evaluate. And when you think about feasibility, think about the potential that this asset or this new service offering or this application that we may be developing, there's always a cost associated with that. So we think about, when we're planning this expenditure, whether it's a time resource, which is going to be our people's time, whether it's going to be a manufactured good, which would be products and that we're going to raw materials that we're going to reshape and reform to produce a product. We're going to build a building. We're going to build a car. We have to think about the feasibility of the economic impact of that. Here's our cost to do that, period of time that we're investing in that. We go to market, we produce that product. What are we expecting to do? So we look at feasibility studies, and again, the history of our accounting, the history of our performance to date in that sector, or the production, or the services that we provide, are a key instrument to be used in determining the feasibility of our projects. Thank you.